You are Locked On Astros Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
An absolutely brutal night for the Houston Astros. Welcome to the Locked On Astros Postcast here on YouTube and anywhere that you get your podcast via the Locked On Astros page. Michael Connor here with you once again. Thank you to all of you that have been with us so far. We're into our first week of these Locked On Astros Postcast, and unfortunately, we've had a lot of losing to talk about during these because the Astros don't like to win baseball games. They did that again tonight. Hit that subscribe button, by the way, on the YouTube page that you're here. Tonight's show brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So let's talk things out for the Astros tonight. It sucked. A game of missed opportunities. They left a whopping 13 men on base. They had, I believe, 8 of those were in the first 4 innings of the baseball game tonight. They came out against the Royal starter, Bregmans, and, well, bang, 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 bang. The first inning was a massive disappointment. To load the bases on the first 3 hitters of the game and to walk away with 2 runs in that inning, it didn't feel like enough. And I really, really loved it. I thought it was really encouraging watching them go out there to start that baseball game tonight and to, sit there and take pitches, be patient, and then get some action on the base pad. I mean, from Altuve to Jordan to Tucker's at bat. And then it comes to the man we'll talk about in the next segment of this show because Alex Bregman had a just brutal night at the plate and in the field despite having one big play in the game. Overall, this start to this postcast, and it's not just the players here too. I mean, look, there were some managerial decisions tonight that were interesting to say the least. What you're doing pinch hitting Mauricio Dubon or pinch hitting John Singleton for Mauricio Dubon, I don't know. I don't understand. I think it's where you go a little too far into the numbers. I'm not on the John Singleton experience. I don't think he has anything on this team. First base is a massive, massive problem for this Astros baseball team. Jose Abreu. Think about where Jose Abreu is at in his big league career there. We're in the 10th inning, and the Astros have the go-ahead run on second base because those are the rules in the 10th. This is a former MVP in the league. And he's getting pinch hit for the backup catcher, Victor Caratini. It's a problem. It's a big, big problem for this club. And that's kind of been the story of the beginning of this season. They've been so up and down. And overall, their offensive numbers look phenomenal. It's as good as it gets. It's some of the best in the American League. And you would like to think that they could do that consistently. But I guess this is kind of the trend of the Astros throughout the last few years, right? We shouldn't be so surprised what they pulled off tonight. When they have a great night one night, they're almost guaranteed to come back the next night and be terrible. And that's exactly what happened. And they're now sitting at 4-8. They had a 2-game winning streak there. Felt like, oh, finally some momentum for this baseball club. And then, let's go to Kansas City. And now, look, credit to Kansas City so far this season. Now, they did play the just terrible Chicago White Sox. But they're a winning baseball team right now. And tonight, they got a win over this Astros club, a game that the Astros walk away with 1,000%. I guarantee when we start seeing and hearing the quotes from Joe Espada in a bit, it is going to be, we feel like we should have won that baseball game. And he's right, and they're all going to be right. They missed so many opportunities in this game to really put it away early. And you can't do that at all. And they know that. They've been around doing this for quite some time now. To consistently win, though, and to dig out of this hole, and this is now, look, it's too early for standings watch in April. It's April, though, what is today? Is today the 9th of April, I believe? Yes, the 9th of April. It's too early for that. But it is something that is just, you had a night where the team in the AL West, the Rangers lost again. they were losing again last time I saw. Either way, even if they, whatever it might have been, it's too early to worry about it, but it's just frustrating that you're sitting at 4-8 and the Rangers did end up losing tonight. So they're now 6-5. You could have been right back into it at 5-7. Yeah. They'll figure it out eventually, but they can't keep having these games where it's all about what Jordan does. Somebody else has to step up in big moments, period, end of story. We've talked a little bit about the lineup construction and how it's set up at this moment. I don't have a problem with giving it run with the way that they've had it. We've talked a little bit about the Jordan Alvarez being in the 2-hole for this baseball team. It's interesting. It's the best hitter on the team. You want to get him as many opportunities as you can. I get it. You also want to have him have opportunities to drive in runs. And, no offense to some of these guys, but some of them that are behind him just aren't proving that they are capable of doing that. Kyle Tucker's been okay at it so far. He's been off to a decent enough start this season, kind of Kyle Tucker-ish, but everybody else behind him, Yainer Diaz, one of those guys. I know that he had to run bad at the end of the night, but, there's been nobody stepping up. And that's something that when you're going through the early season, concerns for this baseball team, you don't like. You need to see a little bit more, fight to it or whatever, or get a little bit more production in certain spots, especially for a team that, Joe Espada in spring training did play these guys a little bit more than normal, and I think that was a good thing, but I'm just shocked that they've come in some areas so cold with the bats, because the way that they finished the spring, they were red hot towards the end. They started to really swing the bat, and it's like, okay, they're going to come in, they're going to just go off from the jump. We do have to highlight the good of tonight. Overall, the last couple of innings there for Javier weren't fantastic, but for the most part, he was very good tonight. The bullpen behind him did their job as well. You knew how that was going to go when it got to the 10th inning and the Astros didn't score. Raise your hand right now if you knew that guy that was pitching for the Astros. If you're raising your hand, you're lying. And that's okay to lie sometimes, but don't lie right now. You know that you know nothing about the guy that was pitching there in the 9th inning for the Astros, the 10th inning, for the Astros. And I'm not going to lie to you either. As a baseball honk, as somebody that spends way too many hours in a day staring at Baseball Reference and other things, I don't even know who the hell he is. And that's okay. All I know is he's a reliever. There you go. And hasn't pitched a lot. And here he goes. He gives up a run there in the 10th inning for the Astros to lose this thing. But Javier was good. We also have to can we stand up for all of the negativity that we're going to talk about tonight with the things that the Astros have done? Can we give Rafael Montero a moment tonight? Rafael Montero came in following Javier in a little bit of a sticky situation. Runners on the corners, and nobody out or one out in the inning? They had him, I think, on the corner. I know that they had him on the corners, one out in the inning. And Javier leaves him in a tough spot. And guess what Rafael Montero does? The man shut it down. He did not allow the Royals to score. Rafael Montero at this moment, people, soak this in. He's got a 1.69 ERA. How nice is that? I say it's as nice as it gets. And you know what? I'm going to live in this world for a brief moment of I'm going to ignore the 4-8 record, and I'm just going to remember that Rafael Montero might be elite again, and he might be worthy of being the 8th highest paid reliever in baseball. Yeah, I said it. Rafael Montero fan club, back open for business, baby. Applications will be denied for all you haters that are out there. I'm kidding, of course, but they do lose tonight. It was the one of the positive things that you try to find from one of these, one of these tough nights that they're just seeming to have a little bit too often for the Astros. Let's talk about the man at third base. He had, not such a spectacular night, that being Alex Bregman. It's a big year for Bregman. We're going to talk about him a lot throughout the year. But I'm not even necessarily concerned about the contract situation. I'm concerned about the trend that has continued for this man, and we'll talk about it in just a moment. Have you ever been looking to get yourself into a big game? Like me. Well, we all have. You need to get in somewhere last minute. You need a deal. You want a deal. You want the best deal that's out there. You don't want to go paying a ridiculous fee. Whatever it might be, I have the place for you, and it is game time. head to their website, gametime.co, to check it out right now. It is an unbelievable ticket service. I'm telling you, any event that you're looking for, sporting events, big concerts, whatever it might be, they have you right there at the Game Time app. Browse through that Game Time app and, of course, get yourself to those high-profile events. You can, of course, see the Astros when they're playing at Minute Maid Park. You can get a sweet deal on some tickets last minute or well ahead of time as well. Maybe you're looking for, really, really high or really, really good seats in the ballpark. You're wanting to splurge. You got a big day coming up. I got a big day coming up for my anniversary soon. And you know what? Maybe I'll go splurge by hitting the Game Time app and getting myself some tickets. It's an absolutely fantastic thing. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with the code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH, FIRSTPITCH, for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest priced, guaranteed. Locked On Astros Postcast here on YouTube Live. Thank you to all of you that have joined us so far. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel or you're listening to this podcast version of this show, head over to YouTube, please, and hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. You are looking for the page Locked On Sports Houston, where we have you covered for everything Houston sports with these postcasts. Of course, we're in a world right now with just Astros, so a lot of Astros. Texans football season gets here. We'll have you for Texans. Rockets season returns as well because we won't have the ability to do them between now and then. With them not going to the playoffs, we're going to focus on Astros here the rest of the way, but we'll do them again in the next NBA season. So, again, you can subscribe to the YouTube page, Locked On Sports Houston, and find the podcast anywhere that you get your podcast. That's Apple, that's Spotify, whatever it might be. It is available to you. This show, about 15 minutes after it's done, on the Locked On Astros podcast page. Let's talk now about the man at third base. The man that is going into is in a contract year, looking for a massive contract this offseason. He's going to be 31, I believe, this season. Don't quote me on that. I know he's 30 or 31. He's going to be 30, I believe, but it'll be 31 early in the next season. He just turned 30 in March. Alex Bregman. Tonight was brutal. Now, look, credit to Bregman the night before. He was very good. Had a 3-hit night, was a key part of the Astros getting that victory just a night ago. But unfortunately for Bregman, and this is where I go back to the construction of the lineup with Joe Ibotta and playing numbers and everything. I'm just going to go hand up here. I do not like Alex Bregman hitting in the cleanup spot. Not one bit. I just don't think it fits. And I think you're seeing that. And you saw it in the first inning tonight. He's swimming in it right now. And you know how he's swimming in it already. And that's a scary thing when you're 12 games into the season. He's already changed his batting stance. This is a guy that has always tinkered back and forth. Now, I've known Alex for a long time. He's always been great. Had a lot of great interviews with him throughout the years. I hope that he figures it out because I like him a lot. But he tinkers a lot. He grinds a lot. He thinks he's got this answer, that answer. I was terrified of first of all, I'm not terrified about the fact that he picked up and left and moved out of Houston this offseason, moved to Arizona, sold his house here because he's preparing for the next stage of his life. I get it. But this entire talk about weighted bats and needing to pick up your exit velocity. And you go back now multiple years. I've brought up the numbers before, but the numbers tell the story. Now, look, some of Alex Bregman, his success, there for a few years where he was an MVP candidate, he was a product of the juice baseball era. There's just no way to deny it. He was also a lot younger. This guy hit 41 home runs in a season, and he hasn't sniffed 30 since. He's gotten semi-close to 25 last year, but he hasn't gotten close to that 30 number overall. But in his first 4 years in the big leagues, 99 home runs, hit 286, OPS 911. That's elite. That is an MVP candidate every single season. Of course, he was an All-Star twice in those years, has not been back to an All-Star game since then. But in those years since that has happened, he is a 260 hitter with 66 home runs and an OPS of 799. There has always been a lot of a talk about him being an elite level player, and the facts are the facts at this point. He's not that guy anymore. He hasn't been that guy for a long period of time. I mean, we're talking really since I'm not counting the 2020 season against anybody, the COVID year. A lot of guys were bad. It is what it is. But 2021, when they went to the World Series and lost to the Braves, he wasn't very good that year, but we found out after the season, of course, he was playing through a wrist injury the entire year that nobody ever heard about, and he had surgery on the day after the World Series ended. So you give him a pass on that one. Comes back the next season, and it was brutal, to be perfectly honest with you. It was really, really brutal. It was a long season, very, very slow start. Happened again last year, and we're seeing it again this year. You know, there's a difference between the elite of the elite and where Bregman is. You see it in Yordan Alvarez. The guy comes out, he's, mashing the base. He's got three hit games already this season. Already has a 4-hit game tonight. He's the best, one of the best pure hitters in baseball. And Bregman has just declined from that. And we're going to do a lot of the debating and a lot of the talking. I don't know if anybody's really debating it anymore. I think a lot of people are kind of settled on the fact that, and this is the first of this group that are going to move on from the Astros because we've seen so many throughout the years do this, that I think you might reach a consensus from the fan base that it's okay if he goes, because if he keeps being this guy, and the early trends say he's going to be the guy he's been the last few years, you're going to move on from that and probably be okay. But I think that, honestly, if he keeps this up, good luck on the market. What's the difference between Alex Bregman and Matt Chapman? Newsflash, there's not much. Matt Chapman probably is hitting for more power, hits the baseball harder at this point than Alex Bregman does. And Matt Chapman just struggled on the market to find a deal. And guess who his agent is as well? Scott Boras. Matt Chapman is a guy that last year, his OPS is lower than Bregman, but he hits 17 home runs. He hits usually about 25 home runs a year. What's the difference? And he plays elite level defense, by the way. He's been a 4-time Gold Glover. And now Alex Bregman has in part not won a Gold Glove because of Matt Chapman playing all of his career until this year in the American League. So, that's made a difference for him. But, I don't want to do the song and dance all season. I'm not going to do it over and over again. But tonight, and I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest about the contract situation and everything moving forward, because I know that it's a sticky situation for a lot of people. But this is a player that tonight was part of the reason why you lost the baseball game. He was terrible. That at bat in the first inning with the bases loaded and nobody out was just atrocious. I mean, he got one call against him that was probably borderline, but he looked at another one, and then he's just flailing. And I can't completely judge him on 12 games. He's never been a guy that's really struck out more than he walks. I'm sure he's probably going to end up in about the same area again. Early portions of this season for him with the walks and strikeouts, he's a little bit ahead on the strikeouts to walks at this moment. That'll level out at some point, I'm sure, because that's just what his trend always is. He struck out once tonight and did not walk, so he's got 3 more strikeouts than walks on the season at this point. But his at-bat quality has just not been good. And his ability to come through clutch for this team has just not been there. And it's really been a while since he's been that. And I don't know how long you go with him in the 4-hole. I know that this guy is down a little bit and he's in his first, full season as an everyday starter, but don't you want Yainer Diaz in the 4-hole over Alex Bregman? Honestly. He's got more potential to be lethal. Most of the time, he's going to find a way to put bat to ball. He's got incredible bat to ball skills. And he can hit it a quarter mile and he can hit it hard. And even Bregman single tonight. I need to go look at the exit velocity, but it doesn't even look like it's hit that hard. I just truly think we're watching a decline of a once great player. It happens to a lot of guys more than others. It may be happening to him. He's still a very good big league third baseman. And if the Astros could get him back on a deal that's friendly for them long term, or, I say long term, like 4 to 5 years, you do it. 4 to 5 years, 20 to 25 million a year, you do it. They don't grow on trees. That reliable, that solid overall. Because for the most part, he does a lot of things really well. He's just not elite anymore. For a guy that wants elite level money, he's just not that. I hope in a few months somebody pulls a clip of this video and says, remember when you said this about him? Because we're talking about him being an MVP candidate. That would be fantastic if he changed my mind on what I'm saying. But tonight was just a very brutal night for Bregman, I think more than anybody else, when the team had big-time opportunities in this baseball game to put this thing away. It absolutely stinks. We got one more thing to get to here on the Locked On Astros Postcast, and it, of course, has to do with the pitching situation for the Astros. They had some news today we'll talk about in just a moment. All right, let me tell you about PrizePicks. Have you used PrizePicks to this point? What are you waiting for? It makes these games a whole lot more fun. You're watching the Astros tonight, maybe you want to go put some numbers down with Astros players. Maybe you like the NBA action. I like the NBA action. I'm a big fan of points, rebounds, and assist numbers that I can typically put together. Those combos. You can play all kinds of players together. You can play all kinds of sports together. It's a great time with PrizePicks when you're playing fantasy every single day. Lots and lots and lots of fun at PrizePicks. PrizePicks has something for every single sports fan, like I mentioned, from baseball to basketball to the League of Legends, everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry. I don't know if Bellingham scored today in the Champions League, but you could have picked him. You want to play alongside some of the biggest names in PrizePicks world, well, like Meek Mill and Sugar Sean? Well, why don't you do that? You can do that. You can go to the communities and play with the big names like that at PrizePicks. It's the best way to get in on the action on sports in more than 30 states across the great country, including California, our great state of Texas, and Georgia. Just go ahead right now, download the app today, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB for that first deposit match with PrizePicks. Okay, let's wrap it up on the Locked On Astros postcast here. Again, thank you for joining us every night so far on YouTube. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button. Continue to do that. Spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your wife, tell your kids, tell your grandma, tell whoever. I told people today, to be honest with you, to go hit subscribe. Why not? I hope that you enjoy the content, and we're going to keep talking Astros baseball and Rockets basketball and Texans football, whatever it is. And, of course, with this postcast, the Locked On Astros postcast, you can catch it in the audio form on the Locked On Astros podcast page, wherever you find your podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple, whatever it might be. It is their Odyssey. They've got them all. The Locked On Astros postcast is there on the Locked On Astros page. The news before the game today, if you did miss it, was that the Astros finally, I don't know why they waited a day, put Framber Valdez on the injured list. 15-day injured list, so he's out for at least a couple of weeks. Not a lot of information was given, as you would expect from this. He came back to Houston, was evaluated, saw doctors. You have to assume that there was imaging done to the elbow as well. I don't know how many times you have somebody have to get an elbow evaluated and it turns out to be a good thing. I just don't feel like there's a lot of cases where that happens. Of course, I say that, and Jose Urquidy recently had that, and turns out it was a forearm strain for Urquidy, and should be back at some point from that. So you're hoping it's the same kind of thing for Framber, but Joe Ibotta before the game today, said he didn't have any information on how the UCL looked, which if you're new to baseball or new to injuries to pitchers or whatever, the UCL is the ligament in the elbow. Actually, it's this arm for Framber Valdez. that the guy's tear to have the Tommy John surgery. But I guess the news that you're all excited about for a team that has just about every starting pitcher on the shelf at this point, a lot of people, of course, are excited about Spencer Arrighetti, the Astros' top-rated pitching prospect by the publications that do that. He's not a top 100 prospect. He has good stuff. We'll see. If don't go looking, I guess, if you don't want to believe, or you want to believe that he's going to be successful, you don't go looking at the minor league ERAs because, and you will say in the Pacific Coast League, these guys will play in a lot of ballparks that are very hitter-friendly, whether it's out in Albuquerque, Las Vegas, up into Colorado, all kinds of atmospheres, out in California as well, where the ball flies really, really well. But he plays here in Houston for his home games. ERA is a little up there, but that's okay. His stuff's legit. I've seen him throw some bullpens in spring training when I've been down there in the past. Really, last year was the first good opportunity I got to take a look at him when he was pitching on some backfields and everything. And you see it, and, a lot of guys have talked about it. I think he works out with Lance McCullers. McCullers been raving about him for a while, the stuff that he has. You can have stuff. Every guy in the minor leagues has stuff. I mean, every guy can throw hard and spin it. It's the question of, can you get to the big leagues and control it the way that you need to, inside and outside of the zone, keep your emotions in check, and execute the game plan? Because you can have all that stuff. They always say that, a guy that can't make it in the big leagues is a 4A player. There's been a lot of 4A players in the big leagues. I'm not saying he's going to be a 4A player. Good Lord, no. I am very, very excited to see him pitch. He's going to pitch tomorrow, is Arrighetti. They're sliding the rotation back for Arrighetti to pitch tomorrow on his regular day of rest. He was off to a good start so far for the Space Cowboys this season. ERA was below 2, I believe. Looked good, doing his thing. But if you're a fan of getting the opportunity to watch the top pitching prospect in a depleted system, still top pitching prospect, tomorrow is your day. And it's probably a decent landing spot to do it against Kansas City. I mean, look, they're not a team that's actually going to be a winning team this year. There's just no way. They're going to be bad again. But hopefully the bats tomorrow night for the Royals don't show up, and Spencer Arrighetti has himself a very good big league debut. And look, the Astros need him to eat some innings as well. They did call up Parker Mashinsky, by the way, to take the to join the roster, take the spot. He took the spot for Fromber because of the injured list rules. He hadn't been down enough long enough period of time. I said easily to get back up this quickly as was Mashinsky, so he's back up. But just I think tomorrow night, what you're looking to see is the command. Is he going to command all of his secondary stuff? Because his secondary stuff, Arrighetti, is really what's going to be his bread and butter more than anything else to get outs. Had some good moments in spring training this year. Hopefully that carries over to the regular season for the Astros tomorrow night, which will, of course, be with you after the game once again for the Locked On Astros Postcast, hopefully breaking down a victory for Spencer Arrighetti, making his big league debut. He's going to be going up against Seth Lugo for the Kansas City Royals in that one. So will be a lot of fun to see and hopefully, again, talk about a victory in that one. Again, hit subscribe on that YouTube page. It's Locked On Sports Houston. We appreciate you doing just that. And come back tomorrow. And if you missed any of this show, catch it, the podcast, wherever you can find your podcast with the Locked On Astros page. I will talk to y'all again tomorrow night. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening.